I want to start today with a word that feels a little bit dusty, maybe. The word is chronicle.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes you think of like medieval history or something. Narnia.
Exactly, Narnia. But the source material we're looking at today uses it as, and I love this description, a journalistic weapon.
A weapon. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great way to put it
Yeah,
because it's very specific, very sharp.
right. So today we are doing a deep dive into this collection of reports called Olympics in Rio 2016 in 3+ minutes. They were written by Brazilian journalist Luís Peazê for the Voice of America host Sonny Young,
A legend, Sonny Young.
an absolute legend. And Peazê is almost obsessed with this idea of the chronicle because he argues that standard news, the bullet points, the medal counts, it just wasn't going to cut it for Rio 2016.
No way. And that's really the core of what we're talking about. If you just look at a Wikipedia page of the results, you miss everything.
Yeah.
Peace is trying to revive this whole literary genre.
He traces it back pretty far, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the way back to, like, 18th century England. The Tatler. And the French feuilleton. The whole idea is that to really get a moment in time, you need more than just the facts.
You need the feeling.
You need the feeling, you need philosophy, a bit of local gossip,
Hmm.
the mood of the people. It's that mix of hard fact and deep feeling.
Which feels so necessary for Rio. I think we kind of forget just how absolutely chaotic the lead up to those games were.
The background noise was deafening.
It really was. You remember the highlights, the gold medals, but the noise was something else. This wasn't just a sports event. It was more like a crisis management exercise.
It was a perfect storm. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, you have to picture the setup. You've got Sonny Young in the studio in D.C. He's the steady hand, interviewed everyone from Frazier to Kareem.
The voice of reason.
Exactly. And then you have Peazê on the ground in Rio trying to navigate what he calls the Brazilian way through a country that was, frankly, in a free fall.
Yeah. Let's actually set that scene. Because this wasn't just, oh, the paint's not dry on the stadium. This was existential.
Completely. I mean, think about early 2016 in Brazil, politically. The president, Dilma Rousseff, is in the middle of impeachment proceedings.
So the government's paralyzed.
Paralyzed. The economy is in the worst recession since the 1930s.
Yeah.
And then you have the car wash scandal, the Lava Jato investigation.
And for anyone who's forgotten the details, that wasn't just a minor thing. This was systemic.
Oh, it was massive. A huge money laundering scheme with the state oil company, Petrobras. It took down everyone, top politicians, business leaders, so trust in the government was at absolute zero.
Okay, so a paralyzed government, a broken economy, a massive corruption scandal.
And then, just to add a little sci-fi horror on top,
Yeah.
the Zika virus outbreak.
Right. And that really brings us to the thesis of this deep dive. The 2016 games weren't just about sports. They were this huge collision.
A collision, yeah.
On one side, you have what we're going to call the calamity, all the logistical, political, sanitary disasters. And on the other, the carnival, that, improvised, resilient spirit that somehow pulled it all together.
Calamity versus carnival. That is it. Perfectly. And honestly, if you look at the calamity side first, it is a miracle these games even happened.
Well, the government itself basically admitted that. There's this legal term in the sources that my jaw dropped, state of public calamity.
It sounds like something a teenager would say.
Yes.
Doesn't it? But no, it was a legal decree.
A real thing.
A real thing. Just weeks before the opening, the state of Rio declared bankruptcy. They couldn't pay their police. They couldn't pay firefighters. I mean, you had police at the airport holding signs that said, "Welcome to hell."
Welcome to hell. We don't get paid. You won't be safe. Imagine seeing that as you land.
It's not a great welcome, man, is it? And if the, lack of security didn't get you, the health panic might. The fear around Zika was intense.
And this wasn't just media hype. Scientists were genuinely worried.
They were terrified. Over 150 of them petitioned the World Health Organization to postpone the games because Zika causes microcephaly in babies. And the phrase being used was, a generation of babies with small brains.
And that had a real effect on the athletes, didn't it?
A huge effect. Hope Solo, the U.S. goalie, was posting pictures in, like, a full beekeeper suit.
Right, with her giant bottles of bug spray.
Yeah. And a lot of the top male golfers, Rory McIlroy and others, they just pulled out. They didn't want to risk it. So the narrative was already fear.
And if the air didn't get you, the water might.
Guanabara Bay. What a disaster.
The biggest broken promise of the whole thing. The bid was won on the promise that they'd clean up 80% of the sewage in the bay.
80%.
The reality, Peazê reports 90 tons of raw waste were being dumped in the bay daily.
90 tons. A day. It's hard to even picture that.
Catastrophic. Sailors said they were dodging sofas in the water. But it's the stuff you can't see that's scary. They found a drug-resistant superbacteria right where the competitions were happening. So, okay, unpaid police, a terrifying virus, superbacteria, and then the infrastructure itself just starts collapsing. The bike path.
The Tim Maya bike path, that story is so symbolic. It was supposed to be this beautiful legacy project, stunning coastal views. A few months before the games, a wave hits it, and a huge section just falls into the ocean.
And people died.
2 people died. It just showed that in the rush to get things done, basic safety was being ignored. It was a literal collapse.
And to add just a touch of the absurd to all this horror, we have to mention the alligator.
You have to mention the alligator. So golf is back in the Olympics for the first time in over 100 years. They built a new course in a place called Jacarapagua.
Which in Portuguese means?
The clue's in the name.
Yeah.
Jacaré is alligator. Pagua is lagoon. It's alligator lagoon.
So they build a golf course in Alligator Lagoon and act surprised when an alligator shows up.
An alligator just wanders across the fairway. It's that perfect chronicle detail, the multi-million-dollar spectacle, and then ancient nature just walks right through it.
So that's the calamity. By all logic, this should have been a complete failure, but it wasn't. And this is where we had to talk about the carnival, the improvisation, the, what's the word Peazê uses? Gambiarra.
Gambiarra, yes.
Yeah.
It's such a Brazilian concept. It's like a life hack. It's fixing something with a paperclip and chewing gum. It's making do. And the opening ceremony was the ultimate Gambiarra.
Because they were broke. After London and Beijing's high-tech shows, Rio had nothing.
The budget was slashed. I mean, tiny. So Fernando Morales, the director of City of God, who's one of the creative leads, and he knew he couldn't do high-tech.
Or an analog.
Totally analog. Projections, huge groups of dancers, a big focus on the Amazon, and sustainability. And you know what? It felt more human. It had soul.
But Gambiarra can also fail spectacularly.
Right.
Which brings us to the green pool.
Ah, yes, the green pool. I think that's the image everyone remembers.
Quick diving pool overnight just turns this swampy emerald green.
And the initial response from the organizers was just, it's fine, it's safe. Just maybe don't open your eyes underwater.
Just dive into the swamp, it's fine.
It took them days to figure it out. Turns out some worker had accidentally dumped 80 liters of hydrogen peroxide in the pool.
Which does what?
It neutralizes chlorine. So the cleaning chemicals were just gone.
Yeah.
And algae bloomed instantly. A high school chemistry mistake on the world stage.
And it wasn't much better at the athletes' village.
Oh, no. Leaky pipes, blocked toilets, exposed wires. The Australian team called it uninhabitable at first. The U.S. basketball teams, the big stars, they just stayed on a luxury cruise ship instead.
Which is quite a contrast. The NBA stars on a cruise ship, and then you have the volunteers. Tell us about the volunteers.
This is where you see the cracks. There were 50,000 volunteers, the heart of the games. They're working these long, hot shifts, and they're getting one meal a day. A snack, basically.
One meal for a full day's work.
One meal.
Yeah.
So people just started quitting. They'd take their uniforms as a souvenir and just not come back. You can't work for free if you can't afford to eat.
And speaking of the big money machine, the IOC went after a local dive bar.
Oh, yeah. For ambush marketing.
Right.
A little bar in Copacabana had a sign for an Olympic happy hour.
You can't say Olympic happy hour in the Olympic City.
Not unless you're a multi-billion-dollar sponsor, no.
Yeah.
Inspectors came and threatened them with fines. It's that clash, you know? The sterile corporate machine hitting the messy, real culture of Rio.
So we've set up the mess. But here's the twist. Despite all of that, the human stories, the actual competition were incredible. This is where the resilience, the carnival, it just shines through.
This is the redemption. And for me, it starts with the refugee team.
A historical first.
10 athletes, no flag, no anthem, representing 65 million displaced people. And when you hear the story of Yusra Mardini, the Syrian swimmer, I mean, she swam for her life pushing a sinking boat of refugees just a year earlier. Seeing them march into that stadium, it just changed the whole tone. It wasn't about who's fastest. It was about who endured.
And that theme of endurance was huge for the local heroes, too. The story of Rafaela Silva it's like a movie.
It is the ultimate movie script. She grew up in the City of God favela. In London 2012, she gets disqualified. And the abuse she got online back home was just horrific.
Right.
Racist. Awful.
People telling her she was a disgrace, a monkey. She almost quit the sport.
She did. She was suffering from depression, but she came back. And in Rio, her home city, she wins Brazil's first gold medal of the Games.
That moment of her just collapsing on the mat.
Chills. Her quote afterwards. The The monkey that was supposed to be in a cage in London is today an Olympic champion at home. Just what a moment.
And it wasn't just the young athletes. You have Santiago Lange, the sailor from Argentina.
54 years old.
Yeah.
And just months before the games, he'd had a lung removed because of cancer.
One lung.
One lung. He's 54. He goes out on that polluted superbacteria bay and wins a gold medal. It just defies logic.
The sources also point to a big shift in invisibility, the out-of-the-closet Olympics, Peazê calls it.
It was a huge moment for LGBTQ plus visibility. You had the public proposal on the rugby pitch.
Yeah. Right, the volunteer manager proposing to one of the Brazilian players.
On the field, in front of the world.
Mm.
And you had Leah T, a famous trans model, leading the Brazilian team out at the opening ceremony. In a country with high rates of anti-trans violence, there was an incredibly powerful, deliberate statement.
So it feels like the athletes are delivering these incredible moments while the organizers are just trying to keep the water from turning green, and then the whole thing gets hijacked by one story. Lochte-gate.
Ugh. Ryan Lochte. This story is so frustrating. It's the perfect example of the ugly American stereotype, and it completely distorted the reality of Rio.
So his claim was what? They were robbed at gunpoint?
Yes, he tells this dramatic story to NBC. A guy puts a gun to his forehead. He's a hero. He says whatever. It played into every single fear people already had about the city.
But it was a lie.
A total lie. They were drunk. They stopped at a gas station. They vandalized the bathroom, and a security guard made them pay for the damage. That was it.
Vandalism, not a robbery.
Exactly. Entitled Drunken Behavior. But the lie just exploded. And what made Peazê so angry in his reporting is that this lie completely overshadowed the real violence that was happening.
And this is the contrast that's it's brutal. While the world is obsessed with Lochte's fake story,
real bullets are flying. Some elite security forces take a wrong turn into a favela and their truck gets shot up. Soldiers wounded. That was real.
Yeah.
The British team actually did get robbed at gunpoint. That was real. But Lochte's story sucked all the oxygen out of the room.
There is one story of tragedy, though, that Pease highlights that is the perfect antidote to Lochte's selfishness. The story is Stefan Hunt's.
This is the heart of the chronicle for me. Stefan Hunt's a German canoe coach. He's in a taxi, there's a terrible crash, and he dies a few days later in a Rio hospital.
Just a terrible tragedy. But what his family did next...
In the middle of their grief, they agreed to donate his organs. And his heart was a match for a Brazilian woman who had been on a waiting list for over a year.
So the heart of a German coach saved the life of a Brazilian grandmother. And Peazê describes this journey of the heart across the city. A marathon of life, he calls it. Rushing past the chaos, past the Christ the Redeemer statue. I mean, while Lochte is making up stories, this family gave the ultimate gift to the host city. That's the texture of the chronicle, the humanity under the headline.
It really puts it all in perspective. So the games end, the athletes go home. What's left for Brazil? What's the final balance sheet?
It's pretty bleak. Peazê uses the term bread and circuses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Roman idea of distracting the people with a big show so they don't see the empire is crumbling.
And did it work?
For 2 weeks, maybe? It gave people something to cheer for.
Yeah.
But the hangover was brutal. A massive deficit. The state had to be bailed out again. And Peazê asks the hard question, should a country with a low human development index, with failing schools and hospitals, really be throwing a multi-billion-dollar party?
It's the classic mega-event question. Who really pays the price?
The locals do. The empty stadiums, the debt. Rio 2016 was a mirror. It reflected the absolute best of the human spirit, the Rafaela Silvas, the refugee team. But it also reflected the worst of institutional failure, the corruption, the pollution, the waste.
The green pool and the gold medal.
Exactly. You can't have one without the other. It was messy and beautiful and tragic all at once.
So it leaves us with a thought to take away. We, the viewers, we consume this as inspiration. We love the stories, but are we complicit in the calamity by demanding the carnival? Is that inspiration worth the cost to the people who are left to clean up after the cameras go home?
That's the question that lingers. And it's one we should be asking every single time.
A huge thank you to the reporting of Luís Peazê and Sonny Young for giving us this incredible window into those wild weeks. It was way more than just sports. And thank you for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you on the next one.